We're not having any heat waves or anything in the UK. It's been raining a lot in the UK, in Northern Scotland and Wales. Finland has built its army up again for Russia. So if Russia wants to try and fight Finland, Finland are ready and prepared. Finland's got 200,000 soldiers. Russia's got a lot as well. Don't know how many Russia have got. And will Sweden join the fight as well? Where Finland goes, Sweden will join. Will Sweden fight Russia? The UK are preparing for war with Russia. Some people say there's already volunteers in Ukraine and English people, Americans, and Polish, French, German. Of course, there's NATO's there as well. Well, NATO gearing up to go to war with Russia? And who's Russia going to call in? China? Who knows? But I'm drinking a can of ginger beer. It's not actually proper beer, it's just fizzy pop. Great value from Farm Foods. And it's very fizzy, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. So what is really going on? We're still waiting for, will the UK get bombed by Russia? As they would keep saying, will Russia bomb the UK from the sky? Like they did in World War I and World War II. Even though it wasn't Russia, it was Germany that did that. And will the Finlands fly over in the sky with the Swedens and tanks, with boats, big off planes, helicopters to come to the UK to help our aid against Russia? Will Russia do the same, start flying helicopters and stuff in the sky and coming off the boat? Will there be a big full-on war on the ground in the UK, Northern Scotland and Wales, which they did in the olden days with the Romans and probably the Vikings? Is something coming? I know that things change on history. We don't have shields and swords, but people don't fight anymore. They just use guns and knives and bombs and rocket launchers. But like I say, guys and girls and ladies and gentlemen, are we still heading for something? Is it actually happening? Is it actually going to come here? Is Putin buying his time like he did with Ukraine, even though the China president said he would? Will Putin actually try and blow up the UK with the Americans coming, join in the UK, bring their tanks and boats and aeroplanes over? Will we see it flying in the sky? What about France and Germany? Will they join in the UK as well? Or will they just send us weapons like Ukraine? Is it just going to be our fight against Russia and no one else will join in? You never know. But I think we have help on our side. Like I say, if anything kicks off in Finland and Sweden, the British would go over there and help them. If they actually go over in the sky, on the tank, or on the ground. So if we're in trouble, they help us. If they're in trouble, and then we help them. If you guys and girls and ladies don't know what I'm saying, we are going to be prepared. So I'm looking on YouTube now. UK is preparing war with Russia. You know, it's a Sunday, obviously. I'm flicking through. As I said, Ukraine's Russia destroyed an army fuel. So that, you know, so does the UK need to prepare? I think we do. Russia could. There was a thing that Putin said before on his speech: the UK will never win. But it's not the first time they've come over in boats, over in planes. And our RAFs shoot them out. They started firing at the British tankers and the big boats, and they said it didn't happen. And the other side said it did, with the reports of British warship fired a warning shot. So there's something definitely coming. Okay. Let's say Ukraine war will take UK several years to restock weapons. Warnings. That could be true. This is in the Daily Mail. So have a look at a bit of this, I think.
In our desire to modernise and in our desire to strengthen the capital investment in whatever area, we recognise that we probably were taking a very conservative approach about our stockpiles and the ability for those stockpiles to be replenished. And I think what Ukraine is already demonstrating is that the rate of expenditure and then the industrial capacity to backfill.
Watch a bit of this to see if you understand, guys, girls, ladies and gentlemen.
And and in a way that might sound naive, but I think it's a strength of the manifestation, because I think there are three elements that are going. Well, there's a backdrop, and the backdrop in big terms over the last 30 or 40 years is a reduction in industrial capacity. Then you have the positive picture. Well, we're spending more in defence now, so we've got some additional investment. But actually, when you come to the Ukraine situation, we rightly have been leaning in to provide more weapons to Ukraine. Then, as you see through Ukraine, there will be a need to assist Ukraine in rearming, and the government's position that we're in this for the long term. And how can we ensure that Ukraine is even safer at the end of this, and has a bright future? And then at the same time, as a corollary of Ukraine, you've seen a whole host of European countries agree to increase their own defence spending. And doesn't the UK want to be a part of that? And are there export opportunities? And when you put those three, backfill, rearm Ukraine, export opportunities, against the backdrop of a limited industrial capacity, and then you take the complexity of not even our most sophisticated weapons. So if you take NLAWs and Tallies and Belfast and so on, so Tallies as the prime contractor, but 15 main suppliers in order to have such an effective weapon. Then you add in, you've got all of those tensions at the back end of a pandemic, and the global pressures of what that has meant. Then you add in the semiconductor issue and so on. So I'm just saying that is a very significant issue. And I think you've probably seen the debates in America, which are mirroring the same. So what do we then do about it? Well, the answer is that this has to be UK defence and the government working with those suppliers, and we're having those conversations. So there was just for example, earlier this week, 12 of the larger defence suppliers were hosted in Number 10. Secretary of State for Defence was there, and therefore we're trying to work through those issues and how much assurance do they need from us to invest so that they can start additional production lines. How quickly can we give them those assurances? Do they want to contract, or do we also protect our position? Because is there a risk of, rather like PPE, that where there were times where there was more demand than supply? So is the answer to this to buy options? Because sometimes we're not fast enough in terms of our contracting ability and competition. And then how can we support UK industry in the export market, but do it in a complementary way? Because in a perfect way, we should also be a net beneficiary of that, because sometimes some of the volume goes up and the unit price goes down, and it might mean that we can actually afford even more. And what are our timelines for all of
Well,
it?
there we are, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think about this? Madness, isn't it? Anyway, let's see what else is on here we can have a look at and understand the fire. Right, I'm sitting quite awkwardly on this chair at the minute. One would tell me. I don't know why I've just thrown my PS4 controller over there. The chair is just really uncomfortable. Usually it's comfortable, but yeah. Long range. I'm just trying to figure out what more the UK could actually go to, really. I mean, will Russia go to war with the UK 2022? I know I keep saying it at the screen, but just trying to find more things. It's not really giving me much that I want to know. I need more information. Will Russia blow up London? Can't really see much of that either. What's it all about? Russian missile loops back on itself, blowing up troops. Which let's have a look at this then. Yep. Did they blow up their own troops or something?
Это пиздец.
A bit stupid, isn't it? It's like it turned back on itself. Goes up and then it just turns around. Goes, not going down that, back down, same way again. Oh, there we go. Not like that. It's a bit weird. I wasn't expecting that, was you? Right, so just trying to find more things, and it doesn't really show much on the TV. It never does it? Which is kind of annoying. I can show you a few documentaries of the things, but just depending how much memory's on the phone. I mean, Tony Blair explains what he thinks about the change in Putin, even though Tony Blair says
Putin's first visit to the West after he was elected president of Russia
no way.
in London
In
April
London.
2000.
London in 2000 with Tony Blair.
By the then
Rather
Prime Minister,
Putin.
Tony Blair. Blair met with Putin many more times. We are back here in London with Tony Blair. So
The aging process is a little bit visible from those old pictures, but anyway.
not of Putin, by the way, more of you.
Exactly.
What did you tell us? Everyone is wondering about this question. He seemed rational, incremental, calculating, logical. He now seems emotional, angry. What is your sense of the trajectory?
So the first Putin I met was Western facing, anxious to have a good relationship with the West. He used to insist that we met in St. Petersburg because it's the Western facing great city of Russia. Then I think he found the challenges of reform and change in Russia too great, and he decided to consolidate power in a more autocratic way and then become a Russian nationalist. And so the second incarnation of Putin, if you like, was cold and calculating and brutal, but still, I would say, entirely rational within his own terms. The anxiety I think everyone has is that he's now completely detached from reality, surrounded by people who won't tell him the truth. And this is why this, incredible miscalculation. Leave aside the wickedness of it. The miscalculation strategically and in every possible way has been enormous. How he could ever have thought, anyone who knows Ukraine, and we both know Ukraine, anyone who knows it, knows that there was never any question of Ukrainians agreeing to be subjugated to Russia in this way. So I think that's the worry. The trajectory has been away from a reforming Western-oriented leader who could have allowed Russia to become part of the West. People even used to talk in the old days. I'm talking those times when I was there. Then people were even talking about, could Russia become a member of the European Union? Was there a way Russia could be accommodated literally within the structures of NATO? And it's very important people remember this, because this myth that Putin perpetrates, that we were somehow
always trying to push him and humiliate Russia. Russia's problem is not the result of our humiliation of Russia. It's as a result of bad government in Russia.
Joe Biden says that his worry is that Putin is cornered and he doesn't have a way out. So what should the West and Ukraine do? Should there be an active search for an off-ramp? Or are you of the view, let's first make sure that Ukraine kind of prevails in this and not worry so much about giving Putin a face-saving way out?
Okay, so I think we've got to be guided by the Ukrainians and their leadership, because their leadership has been incredibly impressive.
Joined by a British former Prime Minister, who used to
But
be.
it's been impressive
Not anymore.
merely by the courage,
It's
but they've
Boris
shown real
Johnson now.
intelligence about how they've approached it. And I think in the first weeks of this conflict, before it became extraordinarily brutal, I think they would have taken a way out and offered that off-ramp. But I think their attitude now, because of the way that Putin is trying to take that whole southern corridor and block Odessa really from Ukraine, I think now the Ukrainians will believe they've done well militarily, much better than anyone expected. They're going to get more support from the West. I think they will have to choose the moment, if there is one, at which they look at the possibility of a negotiated settlement. But it's a lot harder to do now, because there is no way any Ukrainian leader is going to agree that Putin should get anything out of this invasion at all. Now, I do think there are larger issues, we were talking about them before, around what is the type of security infrastructure, architecture rather, we need for the future relationship with Russia. But I don't favor pushing the Ukrainians into a premature negotiation, just as I wouldn't hold them back if they consider there is an optimum moment, maybe after the summer months.
Wow, another advert on the TV.
I buy and sell on.
And then you get to the...
So we're halfway through this video now, as you can see. Right, go back onto the video.
Game of what does the West ask for in return for the relaxation of sanctions, which is presumably one of the key Russian demands.
Russia war.
And it just strikes me that this is going to go on for a long time. That I don't. Again, one of Putin's miscalculations is, I don't think this somehow magically.
I don't know when it was dated. This video, I think it was
put in place, the energy
May the 15th.
The West is going to take its time rolling this back. So, would you agree we're looking at a new world, and that this is not going to get resolved in years?
Yeah, I mean 100%. And the thing is, you've got the sanctions, the actual legally enforceable sanctions, but then you've got a couple of other things. You've got, first of all, the fact that there's no one going to do business with Putin. And I think, is it 1,000 companies have withdrawn from Russia? I don't think they're going to go back in whilst Putin remains in power. So that isolation, which is as much voluntary as it is mandated, will remain. And the second thing is that Europe, I mean, it's learned its lesson now. It will change its energy policy fundamentally to release itself from dependence on Russian oil and gas. Now, it may take some time in the case of gas and so on and so forth, but that's going to happen. It's absolutely inevitable, because no one will want to be in a position, again, where there's any question of having a conflict between what you need to do and your dependence on Russian energy.
All right, before I let you go, I have to ask you, you were so instrumental in bringing stability to Ireland, to Northern Ireland. What does it mean that you now have a party in power there that in some ways is part of the old hope of a united Ireland? Is there now a possibility that Ireland and Northern Ireland will be united?
Well, it's back on the agenda, let's say, in a way that it wasn't before. But the key immediate thing, because that's a whole longer term play, the key immediate thing is to get this dispute between the UK and the European Union resolved. It's very, very damaging. It really arises out of the fact that the UK entered into an agreement back in October 2019 that it doesn't really want to keep to. And unsurprisingly, the Europeans are saying you do have to keep to it. I think there is a way through. There is a way through the technical and practical problems of how you organize trade between Britain, the island of Britain, and Northern Ireland. But it's going to require the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, will have to work out what he thinks is a sensible final negotiating position, and then he's going to have to go and sell it and persuade the European leaders. This isn't going to get solved by the systems, not by the Commission system, not by the UK system. The only way you resolve something like this, and my experience of dealing with Europe, is to elevate it to the leaders' level and get it settled there.
One more example of the damage to Britain that Brexit has caused.
Well, you know, it was inevitable we would have this problem, because the moment you take the whole of the UK out of the single market and customs union of Europe, where we've been for 4 decades, then the hard external border of the European Union is between the north of Ireland and the south of Ireland. So it was always going to be a problem. And, you know, we just, look, it's happened, Brexit. Obviously, I disagree with it. We've got to make the best of it. But we need to resolve this, because otherwise we will put the Union of the United Kingdom at risk.
Tony Blair, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Well, there we go. As you can hear in the background, you've got the climbing the mountain adverts.
Soon, climbing up that mountain will feel more like riding down one.
With the adverts, so.
To get ready for making tax digital VAT returns, search 0 with an X.
Can't stand adverts. More adverts. Well, that was Tony Blair's speech, one would say, about Putin. Just trying to find a recent thing. Just trying to figure out what I can find. Latest news, but make it easy.
According to Interior Ministry advisor Viktor Andrus. According to Interior Ministry advisor Viktor Andrusyev, Ukraine's armed forces destroyed a command and intelligence center belonging to Russia's 20th Army in Kharkiv Oblast. This army is part of Russia's western military area, which acts as a base for operations in Ukraine's east. These institutes generally employ 200 to 300 people for analytical work, according to the Interior Ministry. They are structured under military command and are led by a colonel-level commander. However, the number of fatalities after the Ukrainian operation is yet unknown. I can confirm that a command center of Russia's 20th Army was destroyed yesterday, Andrusyev stated. A key point to note, this was a command and intelligence unit, not just a command facility. All information obtained by Russian intelligence personnel was passed to this facility for examination before being sent to higher-ranking facilities. We don't know how many people died yet. Previously, media sources claimed the destruction of the 20th Army's intelligence center in Kharkiv Oblast, but the information remained unverified for a long time. According to media reports, 40 Russian soldiers were killed during the operation. To reach all actual news fast and reliable worldwide, please don't forget to follow and like us.
Well, that's a different news I've never seen before. The Defender News, BBC News. No way, Jose.
Welcome to the Seniors News. The Russian invasion of Ukraine continues. One more incident affected Russia's wartime failure. According to the British press, the Ukrainian Defense Intelligence, a hospital in the village of Kinsky Rostery. He said that 40 soldiers were injured in an explosion among the deployed Russian troops. December 1. The fact that even the goats so comfortably overpowered the Russian soldiers indicates the failure of the Russian soldiers. Putin is angry at his soldiers for this situation, which is one of the largest armies in the world. The Russian army has still not been able to enter Kiev with its capabilities. Of the Russian soldiers who continue to fail. It is still unknown why it failed. So what do you think is the main reason for this failure? Comments. In
Putin's last speech smashed about Russian 17-minute speech. President's speech delayed death doors. Russia Putin got on Putin's health being a problem. Putin's body language has been under stuff. Some people think that maybe he's been poisoned and stuff, I don't know. I'm showing you all the writing so you can read it for yourself. It's just a bit too quick for me, all this writing. Can be.